So you guys consider yourselves performance chiropractic. So if you don't mind, maybe tell us, what is the difference between performance chiropractic and going to see like a regular chiropractor?
So with the standard chiropractor, typically what's going to happen is they're going to be very focused on the adjustment as kind of their main tool in the toolbox, and they're maybe going to practice one other modality like some light massage. They're going to typically spend between 5 and 15 minutes with their patients, and they're going to be typically more attached to the traditional chiropractic model, which deals with the concept of subluxation and misalignment, which we don't really deal with. We're personally, we like to use a more up-to-date method, and we feel that a lot of that has been sort of disproven, and so we tend to go with more of a motion model, where essentially we view adjustments as more restoring motion. Now, when it comes to performance chiropractic, the main differences are going to come down to a few things. So, one, we do significantly more than just adjust. Two, we're going to do detailed 1 hour long exams. We're going to find the root cause of the problem. And three, we're going to look for ways to improve people's performance beyond just getting them out of pain. So a lot of the times what we're going to do is we're going to do different modalities such as various soft tissue modalities, dry needling, cold compression, shockwave therapy, and electrical stimulation. And we also have a full gym inside of our office. So we have a heavy focus on exercise-based rehab. So we're big on trying to give people long-term solutions to their issues as opposed to giving people short-term relief. And like I said, we're always looking for ways to improve their performance. So say a tennis player comes in with a shoulder complaint, for example. We're not just going to stick to just fixing their shoulder. We're also going to look for ways to say maybe improve their rotation, because that's a huge part of their sport.
Yeah, and so today we're specifically talking about the low back situation, right? But so what you're saying is, in your situation, we're gonna check out that low back, but we're gonna see how the whole body is moving to see if that's maybe part of the equation. Is that
correct? Yeah. So we take a root cause approach where so if someone comes in with a low back complaint, we're gonna start all the way at the foot. We're going to assess their foot, ankles, hips, as well as their rib cage mechanics to see how all those joints surrounding the low back are moving. So that way we can figure out essentially what the weak link in the chain is, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's cool with the whole gym. Maybe you can have your patient do exactly what they need to do to either spark something in the low back, or maybe let them test it out after you do something. Then they can actually do the exercise and see if the problem is fixed there on the spot versus, hey, go home, try this thing, and then come back, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we can have them sort of mimic the exact motion that might be causing their low back pain, for example. So if that's low back pain with a deadlift, we have the equipment for them to go set up a deadlift right there in our office, and we can kind of pick apart not just movement limitations that they might have in the surrounding joints to the low back, but their deadlift itself.
Speaking of deadlift, what percentage of your customer base, whatever you want to call it, are, athletes, people that are actively working out versus just kind of active adults,
So we see a lot of athletes in our office, but we don't limit ourselves to just athletes, and we consider everyone to be an athlete in the sport of life. So
I like that.
If someone's just trying to get ready to go to a wedding, if someone wants to be able to play with their kids, everyone has an event that they are essentially training for, that they need to be ready for. And we're there to help them be able to do that without pain and prepare their body for it.
Nice. Did you come up with that? The athlete in the sport of life?
I stole it from a mentor. So we always steal the good stuff you hear from people.
Sure.
When I heard it makes sense. Yeah. So, it could be as simple as teaching somebody how to get up and off the toilet, which I've had to do. That's not the average person coming in, but we have everything from pro athletes to that. But what works for the high-end athlete works for your average person, right? There is no difference. It's just obviously the loading and the graded exposure and all that's going to be different. But what works for an athlete works for the average person, oftentimes almost even better, because if they're super deconditioned or they're sedentary, like you get somebody to go for a 5-minute walk after every meal and teach them how to sit to stand properly, like their low back pain magically gets way better, like way quicker than come in 3 times a week for the rest of your life. Let me just adjust. Doing what's called a flying 7, where it's the same 7 adjustments to every patient, no matter what's going on. That's, different strokes, different folks, but that's not our model.
Can you just real quick, the flying 7, is that what you called it? I've not heard of that, but I feel like I have an idea of what you're talking about.
Kind of sounds like a superhero team or something.
Yeah, so that's just the quick 2 to 3 minutes per patient. You know, I'm going to adjust both sides of the neck, the mid back, the low back, maybe an extremity meaning, you know, a wrist, an ankle or something. Let me do a little bit of soft tissue for a minute. Cool. I'll see you in 2 days. That's it. Again, different strokes, different folks. If they weren't helping people, they wouldn't be in business long term, but that is not our model. My goal and our goal as a whole in the office is somebody goes, you're not like any other chiropractor I've ever been to. Like, that is our goal from day one.
Your goal is to lose a patient.
Essentially, yeah. So I don't want to, so I always tell patients, and Dr. Adam knows this, like, you're going to get sick of me saying you're not broke, you're not fragile. And I want you coming in the office as little as possible. I want to give you the tools and info so you know how to manage this on your own. If this flares up 6 months from now, especially if you're out of town, but even if you're in town, go back to your exercise list, start working through those things again, and it should at least help you manage it and then go from there.
Yeah, man, I love that. And I want to give you guys a shout out.